business. At this stage, the English were merely parasites on the periphery of an Indian giant. It was from here, the Red Fort in Delhi, that the Mughal emperors, the lords of the universe, ruled India, a vast realm that dwarfed most European nations. The idea that the English might one day make the Mughal an offer he couldn't refuse would have struck a visitor to this magnificent court as preposterous. For the time being, keeping in with the Mughal emperor was an essential part of the East India Company's business. Loss of favour meant loss of money. So from an early stage, the company had to learn to play politics. And that meant coming and paying diplomatic visits here, in the Diwani-Am, in the heart of the Red Fort at Delhi. The Mughal emperor sat right there on the peacock throne. Complicated treaties had to be negotiated with him. Bribes had to be paid surreptitiously to his officials. All this called for men who were as adept at wheeling and dealing as they were at buying and selling. In 1698, negotiations with the Mughal were entrusted by the company to none other than the interloper Thomas Pitt. Just as the pirate Henry Morgan had been called in to defend British Jamaica against Spain, so Pitt was to be the company's persuader in India. He was appointed governor of Fort St. George. When the fort itself was besieged by the Mughal's local lieutenant, the company's directors back in London instructed Pitt to take the gloves off.
These native governors have the knack of trampling upon us and extorting what they please of our estate from us. They'll never forbear doing so till we've made them sensible of our power.
Pitt needed to get some protection. He began garrisoning Fort St. George in earnest, raising company regiments from among India's warrior castes, with British officers and the latest European weapons. Having started out in trade, the East India Company now had its own settlements, its own diplomats, even its own army. In fact, it was becoming more and more like a sovereign state. Rather smugly, it now called itself the Honourable East India Company. But these political pretensions were about to run up against a new and formidable foe. For centuries, the plains of South India were dominated by this fort. But by the middle of the 18th century, it wasn't held by Indians, nor by the Dutch, nor even by the English. It was in the hands of England's oldest and most tenacious rivals, the French. The struggle between the English and the Dutch had been primarily commercial. It was strictly business, a competition for market share. The conflict with the French was political. It would decide who would govern the world. It raged in every corner of the globe, even here in the ancient Indian fortress of Gingy. And its outcome was very far from a foregone conclusion.